Morning guys, this is my review of the e-pedal. Most of the clips that are going to come on the e-pedal will be with me inside the vehicle, so I'll have the camera directing forward on the road so you can get a perspective of speed, and I'll also have my secondary camera on the outside of the vehicle filming the vehicle. I plan to do or show to you guys how the vehicle is good at like hill starts. So say for example going up say speed ramps into a multi-storey car park and actual hills themselves, so you can actually see how easy it is when it lifts off from a brake position to go up the hill. So you'll clearly see that from outside of the vehicle. There's no rollback as such, it literally just accelerates from nothing up and then comes to a complete halt. I'll also do them coming down hills and down ramps, and then I'll just do general videos of me driving the vehicle in traffic, so you can actually see how easy and low fatigue this vehicle is, and I'll do some commentary while I'm actually in traffic. And one of the things that someone actually mentioned about the e-pedal, which I couldn't think of for the life of me what it reminds me of, is a dodgem or a bumper car. Someone actually made a point in one of the comments, and I was wrecking my brain thinking what it is that it feels like. So if you're akin to being in a bumper car without the full reverse mode when you lift off, that's, I would say, the most accurate description of the e-pedal. It is that easy to use. Anyway guys, I will now move on to the clips. So as a little demonstration as I go through these roads, I'm just going to give you an experience of how good the e-pedal is. So we're maintaining speed about 20 mile an hour. There's a quite narrow gap coming up. I'm just lifting off, and I can literally, if need be, if there was a car actually coming here, I can actually lift off completely to a standstill without actually using the brakes at all. And acceleration straight off is seamless. Now I'm actually about to come down quite a steep hill, and I'll actually, traffic permitting, actually show you how good this car holds. Again, there will be a slight bit of inertia because we are actually going down the hill rather than going up, but it will give you a kind of good indication of how good this vehicle is. So effectively, this is not very steep here, but there are some speed humps, so I'm just going to give you an indication again with the e-pedal as I approach them and lift off and then roll over them, how good this actually is. So I'm actually coming up to this speed hump now. I'm actually lifting off, lifting off, lifting off, and you can actually go over these speed humps as smoothly as you want and at any pace. Sadly, I've got a car behind me, so I can't actually stop completely on this hill now, which is one of them things of doing, but you get the gist of it. I mean, I'm lifting off and I'm actually coming over these speed humps at a walking pace pretty much. I actually might be able to stop if there's some traffic coming up. Let's go over the speed humps again nice and smoothly. Yep. Let me just let these cars go and I'll turn around and I'll go back up that hill again. It's typical, isn't it? Right, let's try it the other way. So basically I'm just using one foot, there you go again, not even using the brakes when I actually reverse, and then press down on the accelerator again. Actually, I'll show you this now as I'm actually coming down this hill. I'm just lifting off, lifting off, lifting off, and stop. It's a slight delay, but and then accelerate again and it moves off. But as I'm going over these speed humps, I can literally lift off, just one-footed, go over these speed humps because there's nothing behind. I can go over it as slow as I want. I mean, I can literally come right the way down to a walking pace and then down. Now, I'll accelerate again and go up this hill. Hopefully there's nothing coming in if I can get up the hill a bit. Right, so I'll go slow over this speed hump again, lifting off, just roll over and accelerate. Right, while there's nothing coming, I will demonstrate on this very steep part here. Right, I'm lifting off and I'll probably stop before that speed hump. and hold, and then accelerate off, and then release. I mean, obviously you can time it so effectively if you was in traffic you can actually be accelerating, say at this kind of speed, and then as you lift off ever so slightly, more, you can actually control it. So obviously if you forward plan, which most of us do when we're driving, it becomes very intuitive. That's the word I was actually looking for. And then we'll turn around again, go back down that hill. Turning circle on this car is really, really nice. Oh, by the way, that 360-degree camera comes in really handy when you're actually doing tight turns like that, because you can actually see the curbs and actually prevent actually doing any damage to your alley wheels. I'm just going to pull over here for a minute because there's a car coming down behind me again, you can probably see, and I'll let him go past. There you go, I've actually stopped without using the brake. And so actually coming down things like curbs, you can control it perfectly. It's very, very clever technology. So I'll accelerate, coming up to another speed hump, lift off, and just keep foot a little bit on the pedal and over, nice and gently, and over you go. Right, this is a little bit of a steep here, so I'm going to actually lift off completely. I'd say it takes about 2.5 car lengths at 25 mile an hour to a complete stop. On this demonstration, this is a multi-storey car park. So what I'm going to do now is just show you how the vehicle holds on a relatively steep incline. So I'm just going to move off and accelerate and release and hold. There's a slight perception between when it actually holds. It's not disconcerting and it's fine. So what I'll do now is I'll accelerate again and release and hold. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll just do this the opposite way around, so just give me a second. I'm just going to turn around at the top of this ramp. The point to remember is that on downward slopes, the inertia of the vehicle, because you've got a lot more weight at the front where the inverter, the electric motor and drive shafts and things like that, is it will, right, so I'm just gonna release and hold, and I'll accelerate again just quickly and release and hold. It's about a car length, I'd say half a car length more than when you're going up to actually stop, but you get the idea. So that's multi-storey car parks done. One of the great things about the 2018 Nissan Leaf regarding the e-pedal is town driving, and what I'm going to bring to you whilst I'm driving in my regular shift today is going to be just some basic clips of me utilising it to great effect. Now, for example, just coming up is a speed hump, which will be showing you in other clips. You can literally go over these as smoothly as you want and as slowly as you want, and once you get used to the e-pedal, it's so intuitive. It's got to be the most stress and fatigue reducing item that's ever been fitted to a vehicle since day dot. It is that good. In our industry, in the taxi and private hire industry, this is going to be of a paramount, because obviously we're in the vehicles for extended periods of time, and I'm not obviously disputing the fact that some of you guys will be travelling, say, long distances to see relatives, but predominantly you'll be taking motorways, dual carriageways and 50 and 60 zones. I'm just talking about in town, where you're in the town pretty much all day, and you're never going to be exceeding most of the time 30 or 40 miles per hour, and then you'll be coming down to virtually a complete stop like this set of traffic lights. So I'm effectively lifting off, just keeping it on the light trailing throttle, lifting off, and foot's off completely and hold. and then you just push off again. So you've got no stress on your Achilles heel, where you would predominantly be going from your accelerator pedal over to your brake. I've always drove automatics. If you've got clutch, it's going to be even more of a benefit. But where I've come from an automatic is like I've kind of skipped out that part of like one pedal or two pedal driving instead of three pedal. But even coming from an automatic onto this, all brake pedals, you've got to apply some kind of force. Just let me let this ambulance go. There we go. Yeah, so you've got to apply some force to the brake pedal, and it all adds up over the period of a day. And like I say, over the period of days and days and days, that accumulative effect of not having that stress on your joints has got to pay dividends. I don't know, I'm not a medical expert. I know that you do need to have some kind of exercise, but the point I'm making is that you're not doing repetitive pedal swaps like accelerator brake, even in an automatic. So that's going to be a plus thing maybe for years to come. And like I've heard a lot of people say, this should be standardized on all vehicles that can have it equipped, which is probably going to apply predominantly to BEVs because of the electric motors regenerative effect. I'm hoping there's going to be a bit more traffic so I can actually show. It's going to be hard to convey across to you guys how good this is, but like now I'm approaching this roundabout just in case cars was coming, and just lift off and squeeze, that's what you do all day. It's brilliant, very, very clever. There's a car and a van parked up on the road, so I'm going to slow down a little bit. Should be able to get past fine. It just makes for day-to-day driving lovely and smooth. Like now, coming up to a set of vehicles, there's quite a few cars here, just keeping the throttle, lifting off a little bit more. No drama, zero stress. But I say, Nissan engineers have done a fantastic job of this. It's a brilliant system, and once more and more taxi drivers and private eye drivers for that matter actually get to grips with the vehicle and word is spread around, I can see this vehicle selling in vast numbers. Like I said earlier in the year, actually there has actually been some people that I've actually seen on YouTube that have actually been mentioning the issue of the e-pedal using the friction brakes a lot more than was previously used on BEVs. I don't know about other BEVs, but when I drove the Hyundai Ioniq last year, I still had to use the brakes just to kiss them at a complete standstill, and it didn't hold the vehicle like this does without the use of the handbrake, which is another plus point with the e-pedal, because you just don't need anything. It's just completely one pedal driving. Now, the points that they were effectively making was to regards of the brake dust being on your wheels. Now, I can categorically say, and I wash this car absolute minimum of 2 times a week, depending on weather conditions, and I've not experienced any brake dust build up on these alley wheels. I still use a cleaner to actually clean the wheels, but it's only just to get like a smooth use of like a foam sponge I use over them instead of just water. You could just use your bucket that's got the cleaning liquid in it I use on its own, and it'd be fine, but I just spray around it. But anyway, I've not experienced any brake dust at all whilst I've been using this vehicle for the past month. There's dirt that clings to the wheels, which is from the road grime, and we've just pretty much washed away the entire contents off the road of road salt, and unfortunately, as a byproduct, once it's done its job through the cold spell, you're now getting the dirt up from the road where it's been in there for months and months, and that was clinging to the side of the alleys like with dirt, but there was no brake dust, none at all. Not that's worth mentioning anyway, so I wouldn't have any concerns about the amount of friction brakes you're going to be using. It's probably next to nothing, because apparently I did actually read that the friction brakes don't actually come into play until it's under 5 miles per hour, which is virtually nothing. And when I test drove the previous generation Leaf last year in B mode, you can pretty much again come down to about 5 miles per hour, and then you just have to kiss the brakes, so you're still using the brakes. If other BEVs don't use the brakes whatsoever and can completely use the regenerative force of the electric motor to bring the car to a complete stop, great. But does it hold it on slopes? I don't know. I've never driven some of the other vehicles, so I've got no idea. So this is just a quick demonstration of the flat-edged kind of speed humps. And this is a demonstration of the 5 miles per hour ramps that you tend to find in a lot of multi-storey car parks on the entrance too. They're quite abrupt, so I'll just gently go over it, lift over and down and back and down, perfectly controlled. As an example of how good the e-pedal is in terms of doing reversing turns and like 3-point turns, I've just brought the car to a complete stop, put it into reverse, not using the handbrake or the brake, reverse into the slot, because it works on reversing as well as forward motion, and hold, back into B mode and accelerate away.